Well, good day viewers. Today we have a unique truck. It's a 2009 Chevy Silverado hybrid. Customer didn't mention to me, or I don't remember him mentioning to me that it was a hybrid. GM's not making these trucks anymore. Anyways, it's here because of a bunch of warning lights on. Oops, sorry about that. Let's have a look. Oh, I tried to start it. It's in idle stop. So we got a service stabilitrack, engine light on. Well, it's in a ready mode. Service ABS and airbag warning light. And the customer left me a beautiful little note. Traction control, stabilitrack, service brake soon, service airbag, and a whole laundry list of codes. You got vent solenoid. That's probably just a wiring problem. I don't know what scanner he was using. He said there's no code for airbag system. So let's connect the Snap-on Verus Edge to this thing and see what kind of codes it has. Nice thing about it is I can leave the key on with no fear of the battery going dead, because it's got this high voltage battery pack, and it'll just start the internal combustion engine if the battery pack gets low anyways. So this is a new vehicle record. I've never scanned this before. At least I don't believe I have. Yeah, 2009 Chevy Silverado. Yes, okay. Should be quite a few computers in this thing. I'm going to grab the mileage. So it's got 158,600 kilometers on it. Let's do a network code scan. And this is a pre-scan because I haven't made any repairs yet. Let's see what comes up. Compare that to his notes. HO2S high voltage bank 1 sensor 2. HO2S circuit high voltage bank 2 sensor 2. So both rear O2 sensor are failing. Right rear wheel speed sensor circuit low. ABS regenerative axle pressure sensor circuit open or shorted low. That's an interesting code. That's got to do with the ABS regenerative axle pressure sensor circuit shorted high. ABS regenerative axle pressure sensor erratic. And it's the list of that is the end of the code scan. Then we have right rear wheel speed sensor circuit fault. Wasn't that in the engine control computer? We have a rear speed sensor fault. Really, that's interesting. And it's in the anti-lock brakes. Front end sensor 2, I believe that's the right side sensor, but I have to double check. System configuration error, incorrect component installed. I don't like that code. Device ignition 1 circuit short to ground or open. Good news is nothing else. So everything's related to these speed sensor codes. This is a new code. I don't think I've ever diagnosed these codes. Well, we don't need to look at freeze frame data, in my opinion. The lights are on right now. Problems present right now. I think first thing in order is put it up in the air and do a visual inspection. So because I got the key in the run position, the cooling fans are running. That yellow connector is one of the crash sensors. There's one there. And the other one up here, you have to take this cover off to access it. I'm pretty sure crash sensor B is the right side, but I'll double check. It likely needs that crash sensor. It's pretty common. You can hear the hydraulic tranny pump running. Now looking at the rear speed sensor wires, and I don't see anything physically wrong with them. It's a harness. Speed sensor is located in here. It might be difficult to get out. I see that Torx bolt You might have to remove this bracket for the brake hose, or the brake line I should say. Well, the brake hose is attached to the other end. But it runs up here to the frame and then up over top of the frame. And there's a plastic inner fender skirt. And I believe there's a connector up on top of the frame there. Now, had it been easy, I would have connected the right to the left and the left to the right, but it's not easy. That's provided the code sets as soon as you turn the key on, like an open circuit in the sensor. Don't see any obvious problems with the harness. I'm going to price the speed sensor and see what it's worth. So I've got a record of all these codes, so I'm just going to clear all codes and see if that speed sensor code comes back immediately, as well as the airbag code for the sensor. I looked at the O2 sensors on the back and I don't see any chafed wires there, so probably needs a couple of O2 sensors. 23 controllers. Okay. Let's read it again, just to see if anything came back. Right rear. I wonder if this C012C is related to the speed sensor problem. So those two codes came back. The O2 sensor codes did not. Okay, I'm going to do a little research. I've had the key on for like 10 minutes, well, long enough, 15 minutes, long enough to lift it up on the hoist. And the system voltage is at 14.3 and the cooling fans are running. That's because it's a hybrid. I love it. So I found a TSB on enhanced diagnostics for the wheel speed sensors. They are powered digital speed sensors, so you can't measure their resistance like the old days. They have been since about 2006 or 7. And there's a 12-volt feed from the EBCM to the speed sensor on one wire, but if the computer sees a fault, it shuts down the 12 volts. So a lot of techs will check for that 12 volts. It's not there. Assume that the EBCM is bad, when in fact it's just shutting down the circuit. There's a procedure for checking for it. You could either use a graphing multimeter or lap scope and set it up so that when you turn the key on, you can capture the 12-volt blip. But nevertheless, the speed sensor is like $75 for a new one. It's about 80% likely it's the speed sensor, maybe 15% likely it's the wiring from the speed sensor to the EBCM. This truck is really good shape. And it's about 5% likely it's the EBCM itself. So what I would do is I'd obtain a wheel speed sensor, simply plug it in, cycle the key, clear the code, cycle the key, and see what comes back. If the code has gone to history, or if the code clears, then install the speed sensor. Simple as that. Like I said, if I could easily switch right to left and left to right, I would do that, but chances are the sensor might be a problem getting it out of the housing, so I don't want to bugger up a good one. And we're going to look into that other fault code, the C012C. So when you're looking at these codes, it's important to take note of the 2-digit subcode. So the first one, C012C, is a symptom 01, and the second one, which is the same code, C012C, is a symptom 0F. And that applies when you're looking at the troubleshooting chart. So the first one says regenerative axle pressure sensor short to battery, and there is no 0F. Wonderful. Oh yeah, here it is. Regenerative axle pressure sensor erratic. Well, I'm going to read what causes this. So here's the circuit description. The electronic brake control module uses input from the regenerative axle pressure sensor for more accurate control during a brake and vehicle stability enhancement system event. The regenerative axle pressure sensor is internal to the brake pressure modulator valve assembly. I don't like that. Well, let's see what the troublemaker chart says. Using a scan tool, perform the PCM module setup, relearn, verify the code C012C is not set. If the DTC is set, replace the brake pressure modulator valve assembly. Well, that's just wonderful. That's the hydraulic unit. I found no cases on it. It might be specific to this hybrid model, because I've never seen this particular fault code myself before. Brake pressure modulator valve replacement. I'm sure that's the hydraulic unit. Yeah, that's the hydraulic unit. And they conveniently placed the lines on top. Yes, this is definitely different from a conventional truck, that's for sure. That is definitely different. Where's all the brake lines? Oh, they're all on the right left-hand side there. Well, that might not be too bad. But I wonder what that puppy's worth. Personally, I think we're going to fix the wheel speed sensor code and then see what happens. I'll see if that scan tool has the ability to do a relearn, but no point doing that until we replace the speed sensor, because that might prohibit it from doing a relearn when there's an active fault code. Surprised there's no cases with that code. So I'm going to do a keyword search for some of these other codes here, because they're all applied to the same type of fault. So I did a keyword search for all of these other codes on Identifix, and there is no cases pertaining to any of these codes. So it is specific to the hybrid by the looks of it, and I've never seen an EBCM like that, so I'm sure there's not going to be many of those around. It's probably VIN specific, so it can't probably be flashed, but a reflashed, a used one, chances are it's obsolete now, given the way the parts ordering system has been lately. Let's investigate the crash sensor fault. I was right. B0084 is the right front impact sensor. Now, what I've done in the past to qualify these things is just switch them right to left. If you read the troublemaker chart, it has you taking the front seat out to access the airbag module and checking continuity of the wires. Why not just switch the sensors right to left? In fact, it's so common for the sensor to fail, in my opinion, just change the sensor and you'll probably be about 90% likely to fix it. I had one where the wire was corroded about 4 inches away from the sensor. I'm going to look at the wiring. So I don't see anything obviously wrong with this crash sensor. This is the one here. This is a secondary crash sensor for the hybrid vehicle as well. I'm surprised that one's not in the middle. Normally it was in the middle on the Yukon. But we're going to swap these two sensors. One 6mm bolt with a 10mm head on each one. Pull the secondary lock, disconnect, I got the key off. And then we'll swap them right to left and left to right and see what code resets. So somebody's been here. I see some copper never sees on the bolts. Anyways, this is the left side one, and it's actually kind of swollen. I think that one's ready to fail anytime soon. But it's the right side one that's setting the code. So we're going to swap them right to left and see what happens. So I've got the left on the right side and the right on the left side. Let's go into the airbag. Clear codes. Yes. Wait 5 seconds. Display codes. Current. Oh, now it's not going to come back. Maybe it's not long enough. B0083, sensor 1, so that's the left side now. So the problem followed the sensor, cut and dry, change the sensor, should be good to go. I'm just going to leave that one there and advise the customer that he's got to change. He's a licensed mechanic, so he's going to be doing these repairs. So that's it for now, I guess, on this thing. I'm not going to I'm going to recommend to fix that speed sensor before we condemn that hydraulic unit, because I'm sure that's not cheap. Thanks for watching.